You don't perform your best in, not how I want to say it. You don't perform your best in the heat of the moment. You perform your best because you rehearsed. And what just happened there? That wasn't nerves. That was my mini rehearsal to show you that the ability to pause, reset, and respond, that's what rehearsal trains. I spent years creating immersive virtual reality experiences for entertainment, but my most meaningful work wasn't in entertainment. It was an educational VR film I produced that showed me the future of learning, one that was both engaging and educating. Curious why it worked, I earned my master's in education at Harvard University, studying how learning science, storytelling, and immersive technology intersect. Since then, I've directed over 100 actors for educational VR films, and it taught me this. Rehearsal trains people how to perform under pressure. On a film set, I don't say, you'll figure it out when the cameras roll. We rehearse things like movement, timing, tone. Now, let's imagine it's 6 a.m. Crew call, coffee, lights, 100 moving parts. We're racing daylight because someone decided daylight savings exists and the sun sets at 4 p.m., triggering seasonal depression. An actor stands on their mark, trying to deliver real grief. Take one. The line is right, but the connection isn't quite there. That's not failure, that's the purpose of the rehearsal. I walk up, we debrief, and I give feedback like, someone decided daylight savings exists and the sun sets at 4 p.m. Lean into the seasonal depression. And somewhere around take 5, something changes. It's no longer about just the words. It's about the silence, the eye contact, the emotional presence. That's what rehearsals build. Muscle memory, so you don't disappear into fear when it's time to show up. I entered nursing education. I noticed we're asking nurses to perform under very high pressure situations, but often without rehearsals and without retakes. Nursing students, they read the textbooks, they learn how to pass the exams, but how do we help learners rehearse the emotional weight of real care before it counts? They might know how to start an IV, but not how to tell a family their loved one may not wake up. They might know how to administer medication, but not how to reassure a patient who's too scared to take it. We expect nurses to walk into trauma, cultural tension, ethical conflict with little rehearsal for the human side of their work, and that theory to practice gap takes a toll on patients, on families, on nurses themselves, which brings me to my core idea. Emotionally intelligent rehearsals can help close that gap by giving learners a safe space to face hard moments, reflect, repeat, before the real difficult situations happen. And virtual reality works for rehearsal because it places learners inside realistic clinical scenarios, each aligned with curriculum objectives. Here's my 5-part model for designing emotionally intelligent rehearsals with VR. And it starts with the belief to ground ourselves in a growth mindset. If we believe the human side of nursing is trainable, not fixed, we can design scenarios for it. Once we agree that rehearsal prepares us not just for procedures, but also for judgment and resilience, we can move on to story, my favorite. Because story is how you create stakes. And we write conflict-driven cases grounded in real clinical practice. Lectures teach information, stories, and their conflicts train decision-making under pressure. With simulations, you put on a VR headset, and suddenly you're in a hospital room with a virtual patient sitting across from you. And the character doesn't have a pre-recorded script. Instead, the patient is powered by artificial intelligence, or AI, listening and responding to you in real time. My team designs two things. First, we define who the patient is. For example, a 75-year-old with brain cancer, a shortness of breath, anxious. And this patient responds to whatever the learner says, changing tone and emotion like a real person. Second, we define the key clinical and emotional situations that must happen. And we include a virtual instructor to coach the learners in real time. For example, the patient refuses medication. They're anxious. You try to reassure them, then their breathing changes, a seizure begins, a family member talks to you in the room. It's no longer a concept on a slide, it's a problem unfolding in front of you, and you have to figure out how to respond. In the past year, my team has built over 60 AI-driven patients, and learners can run these virtual scenarios, get feedback in real-life debrief sessions, then repeat their practice anytime. VR makes rehearsal scalable. Once a scenario is built, it's not limited to a single lab or class session. The learner can redo the experience as many times as they'd like. And on top of this, that same virtual patient scenario can reach tens of thousands of learners simultaneously. VR doesn't replace clinical rotations or faculty, though. It extends them. Learners can rehearse wherever they are, whenever they have the time. Headset on, rehearse, repeat, until that default response isn't panic, but calm, emotionally connected communication. So it starts with belief, guided by story, leveraging VR simulation for repetition and scale. So why now? In the US, nearly 1 in 5 newly graduated nurses leaves their job within the first 2 years. And research shows resilience, the ability to cope emotionally under stress, is a key factor in whether they stay. Emotionally intelligent rehearsals can strengthen communication and judgment under stress. And that carries into the real world. Families feel held, nurses feel supported, healthcare systems become more sustainable. This idea doesn't stop with nursing. The need to rehearse emotionally intelligent responses to build more compassion in how we speak to one another never ends. This model can extend to managers practicing hard conversations, social workers preparing for crisis moments, educators supporting students in distress, or first responders learning to communicate clearly and humanely. These are moments where emotional intelligence matters as much as competence. And rehearsals help ensure compassion is practiced. I'll be honest, this is my rehearsal too. Every day, my team and I iterate on this model, designing VR scenarios, reflecting, repeating, and I'm guided by this belief that emotionally intelligent rehearsals belong anywhere humans are asked to show up for one another under pressure. Because rehearsal gives us something our systems rarely allow, a place where learning can include imperfection, a place to practice how we speak, how we listen, how we respond, where we can make mistakes safely and try again until that more human response becomes muscle memory. Let's make room for emotionally intelligent rehearsals so the people we rely on are ready for the human moments of care before they happen. Thank you.